Well, they're brash, they're cocky, completely full of themselves. Today's featured bandmates were as likely to punch each other in the mouth as they were to kick out chart-topping hits. But for whatever reason, the dynamic worked. And this sibling rivalry captured the imagination of a nation, propelling their band to heights not seen in decades. For this episode, we are zeroing in on their most iconic track, a song that was supposedly written about the writer's girlfriend. Only thing is, he had to lie to the world for years and to her about its meaning, true meaning. Later, after the band split, he told the real story. And in time, this song became so popular that the lead singer could not stand to sing it. He said it made him want to gag. And what's ironic is that the secondary singer who wrote it always regretted giving it up to the lead singer to record. He just wished he'd kept it for himself. After all, he wrote it. It's the story of an overnight sensation turned train wreck. Such an interesting and entertaining story coming up on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember riding your bike to the corner store or the gas station to get candy or soda or comic books or baseball cards, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the big red button. Click the bell so you always know when our latest and greatest come out. Also, check us out on Patreon. We have more content there. That helps us keep it a daily channel, helps us immensely. So it's time for another edition of our series, The New Standards. Picking up a few new standards the last few weeks. This is a show that takes an in-depth look into songs that transcend genre, decade, and fads. Songs that are monumental touchstones in our culture and within our society. Man, today's song is so amazing, so entreating, you're going to be transfixed. Today we break down one of the most covered songs from the rock era. From their 1995 album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. Talking about Oasis with Wonderwall.
You're my Wonderwall.
Manchester, England rockers Oasis got their start in 1991 under the moniker Rain. The band was initially comprised of lead vocalist Chris Hutton, there's bassist Paul McGuigan, guitarist Paul Bonehead Arthurs, and drummer Tony McCarrol. However, the band was unhappy with Hutton behind the mic, so they auditioned Liam Gallagher, and he won the job. From there, Liam suggested the band change their name to Oasis, and the band played their first gig on August 14, 1991 at the Boardwalk Club in Manchester. At this time, Oasis also caught the interest of Liam's older brother, Noel. He'd been working as a roadie for the band in Spiral Carpets. Noel recognized Oasis's potential, and he insisted they install him as their lead guitarist and songwriter. Having already written several songs while on the road with this band, Noel took charge as the band leader from there. Noel would later tell Rolling Stone about his role in Oasis, saying, and I quote, "I can only do this one way, with me in complete control of it." So in May of 1993, Oasis got their big break at King Tut's Boardwalk Club in Glasgow, Scotland. They talked their way into the billing, and they played 5 songs, including a cover of the Beatles' I Am the Walrus. This performance won over Creation Records executive Alan McGee. He offered them a contract on the spot. The band signed with Creation several months later, and Sony would represent them internationally. But getting their first album off the ground, that was a difficult process. Oasis made an ill-fated attempt to record the LP in late 1993 at Mono Valley Studio in Wales, but that went nowhere. Then in early 94, they attempted to re-record the album at Sawmill Studios in Cornwall. This time, Noel wanted to replicate their live sound in studio. But the results, they were a mess. So Creation Records hired producer Owen Morris to clean up the tracks. Morris finished the final mix of the album the following May. Released on August 29, 1994, Oasis's debut, Definitely Maybe, was an instant UK hit, entering the charts at the coveted #1 spot. The album featured 4 singles. There was Supersonic, Shaker Maker, Live Forever, and Cigarettes and Alcohol. Great songs.
Feeling supersonic, give me gin and tonic. Shake it off with me. See, you and I gonna live forever. I want cigarettes and alcohol.
Each one improved upon its predecessor. Supersonic reached number 31. Shaker Maker went to number 11. Live Forever one-upped it at number 10, and Cigarettes and Alcohol topped out at number 7. They were going places. Definitely Maybe became the fastest-selling debut record in UK chart history, and it made Oasis an overnight sensation there. The album would sell 2.5 million copies in the UK alone, and over 5 million units worldwide. Also in December 94, Oasis released the non-album track Whatever. That one went to number 3 on the UK charts, even bigger. Everything was looking up for this band. But it wasn't just the music that captured the attention of Oasis's home country. Hailed in the UK as the New Beatles, Oasis became media darlings, media favorites. The British press followed their every move. One element driving this narrative was the rise of Britpop and Oasis's dominant role within this movement. For those who are unfamiliar with the term, just a little primer. I'm sure most of you know what it is, but Britpop was the mid-90s cultural movement that became really its own genre, although it was initially a media-driven phenomenon. Britpop emphasized Britishness, the music that grew out of the indie UK music scene of the early 90s and was irresistibly bright and catchy. A clear contrast to Seattle-led grunge outfits like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. Acts like Oasis, Blur, Suede, and Pulp, known as the Big Four, they took center stage for the movement. Other bands like Supergrass, Elastica, Menswear, and Sleeper all scored Britpops as well.
Through what is known as John Scott Brewer's Blues. On the wall when I came round to call.
The sound was where I thought music was going to go in the early 90s, when EMF and Jesus Jones, the Soup Dragons, The Farm, Carter the Unstoppable, Sex Machine, and Happy Mondays were all making waves, but it seemed like grunge came in and blocked it. But getting back to Britpop mid-90s, more than anything, it was the regional rivalry between Oasis and Blur that grabbed all the headlines. Oasis hailing from Manchester, they represented Northern England, and Blur was the standard bearer for the South. The conflict really came to a head in the summer of '95 with the contentious chart matchup that was dubbed the Battle of Britpop, right? Each band released a new single on the very same day, August 14th, 1995. Blur issued Country House and Oasis Roll With It.
Lives in a house, very big house in the country.
The event captured the imagination of the mass media, and it was billed as the greatest pop rivalry since the Beatles and the Stones. And both bands, they were happy to play along, trading jabs along the way. It was great stuff. Wish we could go back to those times. When it was over, the victory, that went to Blur, who claimed the #1 spot on the British charts and sold 274,000 singles of that very week. However, Oasis wasn't far behind. They came in at a close number 2 with 216,000 units sold. But the thing is, even though Blur won the Britpop battle, it was Oasis that would, without question, win the war overall. The release of Oasis's sophomore set, What's the Story, Morning Glory, that followed less than 2 months later. Of course, co-produced by Owen Morris and Noel Gallagher and recorded at Rockfield Studios. Morning Glory hit the shelves on October 2nd of '95. Highly anticipated release would be Oasis's most commercially successful album. It sold 347,000 copies in its first week. And this was while Oasis was still an unknown commodity in America, really. Still, this album, it would change all that for sure. What's the Story, Morning Glory would rocket up the Billboard 200, ultimately topping out at number 4. It marked the first time Oasis made any real impact in the U.S. Between the UK and the US, the record featured a slew of successful singles that everybody knew. Some might say, Roll With It, Don't Look Back in Anger, Wonderwall, of course, and Morning Glory was released as a promo. Additionally, here in America, Champagne Supernova had a major presence on MTV and went top 10 on the alternative charts and was well known.
Some might say champagne supernova in the sky. Would like to say
But among all these tracks, it was Wonderwall that would ensure Oasis's legacy forever around the world. The song's title is a nod to George Harrison's 1968 soundtrack album Wonderwall Music for the psychedelic film Wonderwall. This was actually the first solo album released by any of the Beatles, of course. When asked about Wonderwall's meaning, Noel, the brother who wrote it, he initially claimed it was a tribute to his girlfriend, Meg Matthews. Said Noel, and I quote, "It's about my girlfriend. She was out of work and that, a bit down on her luck, so it's just saying cheer up and get on with it." Noel met Megan in 1994 through her roommate, MTV's Rebecca DeRuvo, whom he was dating. The musician then made the roommate switch and later married Meg in 1997. However, by 2001, the two were divorced, and after that, Noel started telling a different story and a new interpretation of Wonderwall. He said that the song's real meaning was stolen from him by the press. Said Noel, and I quote, "The meaning of that song, it was taken away from me by the media, who jumped on it, and how do you tell your missus it's not about her when she's read that it is? It's really a song about an imaginary friend who's going to come and save you from yourself." So there you go. Maybe it was an assumption on the media's part, I don't know. But regardless, whether it was about girlfriends or imaginary friends, the words of Wonderwall are ambiguous enough that you can put whatever spin you want on the lyrics.
Because maybe.
For his part, Liam, who sang the bulk of Oasis's songs, really the front man, the singer, he didn't like Wonderwall when Noel first played it for him at Rockfield Studios when they were working on the album. He said, and I quote, "It's a bit funky. I got Police vibes. It was a bit Sting. I like the heavier stuff." I said, "This doesn't suit me, man." However, when it came time to record the track, Noel gave his brother a choice between singing Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger, and Liam chose Wonderwall. As Owen Morris explained it, though, Noel had two songs which required more nuance in the vocals, Don't Look Back in Anger and the new ballad called Wonderwall. Liam couldn't understand why he wasn't allowed to sing both, but Noel gave him an ultimatum. Liam chose Wonderwall. So really, Noel gave it to his little brother to sing, and he would come to regret it dearly later on.
You're gonna be the one that saves me.
The track would come together quickly, beginning with Noel laying down the acoustic guitar. The drums were added by the band's new drummer, Alan White, and then Noel played additional guitars and bass before Paul Arthurs rounded it out with a mellotron.
And after all.
The following day, after a cup of tea, Liam nailed the vocals start to finish. Then Noel overdubbed the piano to complete the song. Now, according to Liam, by the time Wonderwall was finished, he realized just how great it was, how good of a tune it was. Wonderwall, that was released as a single on October 30th, 1995, and it did for Britpop what Nirvana did for grunge, really. It took the genre to the masses, particularly in America, where Oasis had yet to chart a single on the Hot 100.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
Oasis had previously worked their way up to the US alternative charts of Supersonic, Live Forever, and Morning Glory. However, the band was still mostly unknown to mainstream audiences at this point. And of course, that all changed in a flash when Wonderwall climbed to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 at the start of 1996. The song likewise reached number 9 on the mainstream rock chart, went to number 6 on the Cashbox chart, and number 1 on the alternative airplay chart. So it was all over a lot of different charts. Oasis had officially broken through to America with this song. But that wasn't all. Internationally, Wonderwall went top 10 pretty much everywhere. Notably, it also reached number 5 in Canada and Norway, number 2 in Iceland, Ireland, and the UK, and it went to number 1 in New Zealand and Australia. Wonderwall earned Oasis a devoted worldwide fan base, and unlike any of their other releases, Wonderwall also came with a slick-looking MTV-ready music video.
Anybody feels the way I do about you now.
Oasis was suddenly pulling in Beatlesque media attention, and as a result of Oasis's increasing exposure, What's the Story? Morning Glory became the second best-selling album in British history. get this, it comes in, or at that time it came in just behind their heroes, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, though it would later be overtaken by Queen's Greatest Hits and Adele's 21. But the continued success, that emboldened Noel Gallagher's cocksure attitude. He told Spin magazine that if Oasis had been around the same time as the Beatles, that they would have been the Beatles. Noel also declared, I could say to any band member from any era, pick your best song. Give me the best song you think you've written, and I'll pick mine. And I think the best of ours would be above the best of theirs.
Today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you.
Very confident. Echoing his brother's confidence, Liam added, we're the best band in the world. The reason I say it is because we just are. I believe it, man. Okay, well, Wonderwall, for its part, would take on a life of its own and entrenched itself in our culture, pop culture, for decades to come. The iconic track would secure a number of media appearances. For example, it showed up in Misfits, Lost Girls, Frequency, and Ted Lasso.
I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do.
But perhaps more telling is that Wonderwall became one of the most covered songs ever, with stacks of artists lining up to put their stamp on it. Talking about bands like Better Than Ezra, One Republic, Natalie Merchant, Bare Naked Ladies, Kelly Clarkson, Imagine Dragons, The Killers, Lisa Loeb, Rob Thomas, Jason Mraz, Amy Mann, Beastie Boys, Jim Blossom, Snow Patrol, and Weezer, just to name a few.
You're my Wonderwall. 'Cause maybe
In fact, Wonderwall became so popular to cover that it became either a joke or an institution, depending on your point of view. I think it's more institution, but the ease of learning the song on acoustic guitar led the explosion of coffeehouse covers and YouTube videos in the 2000s for sure. This trend then spawned the now famous Anyway Here's Wonderwall meme, which of course taunts amateur guitarists and hipsters for always playing the song at parties. You know, the joke became, if you see a douchebag with a faux hawk or frosted tips, playing a guitar to try to get noticed by the ladies, he's either playing Wonderwall or a Jack Johnson song. The oversaturation of Wonderwall, which now boasts over 2 million streams on Spotify and another billion plus on YouTube, would be a blessing and a curse to the band, like any big hit for any band, leading the brothers Gallagher into a love-hate relationship with the track. For example, in 2008, Liam said, and I quote, every time I have to sing it, I want to gag. On another occasion, he said, all over the world, in any city you care to name, people will sing Wonderwall. I don't particularly like that song. I think Cigarettes and Alcohol is a far superior song. However, later, Liam would change his mind. He'd change his tune. He admitted that he loves playing it, saying the minute that you don't, everyone clicks off. People pay good money, and you should give them what you got. The song is bigger than us. But of course, it depends on the day because, other times Liam has said how much he can't stand singing the song, which happens to any song you have to sing hundreds of thousands of times. If you're an artist, Piano Man, Billy Joel, Don't Stop Believin', Journey, you get the picture. So what became of Oasis and their legacy after the release of Wonderwall? Well, their follow-up, Champagne Supernova, that kept the party going for the band. Here in the States, it broke the top 10 on the alternative charts. Great song. It also went to number 8 in Denmark, number 4 in Iceland, and number 3 in Finland, and number 2 in Sweden. And on the Canadian alternative charts, also went to number 1 in Ireland and the UK. Then as What's the Story Morning Glory started to wind down, fans began to look ahead for Oasis's next album. I mean, not since Sgt. Pepper had there been so much anticipation in the UK for a new album from a band. Lines formed outside record shops on the day of release, and 800,000 copies were sold in the UK during its first day, more than doubling what Morning Glory had done in its first week. With its John Lennon-inspired title, Be Here Now, it featured so many hit singles. Stand By Me went to number 2, and Do You Know What I Mean and All Around the World both topped the chart.
stand by me. What I mean, yeah.
Here in America, Be Here Now kicked out a pair of alternative airplay top 5 hits with You Know What I Mean reaching number 4 and Don't Go Away peaking at number 5. Be Here Now went to number 1 in the UK. It went to number 2 here in the US. However, many music critics thrashed it, pegging it as bloated and overproduced, overdone. And in time, the record would come to represent kind of the death of Britpop. The movement wound down with Republican Alaska and the Verve all claiming their moment. From there, the Spice Girls and post-Britpoppers Coldplay took over the British airwaves. As for Oasis, they continued their run into the new millennium. They released 4 more UK #1 albums, Standing on the Shoulder of Giants in 2000, Heathen Chemistry in 2002, Don't Believe the Truth in 2005, and Dig Out Your Soul in 2008. That means Oasis was 6 for 6 with #1 studio albums in the UK. Just an incredible feat. Their onslaught on the UK charts continued as well with 13 more top 10 singles between 2000 and 2009. Oasis would then officially break up in 2009, which is unbelievable that the band lasted that long, considering the Gallagher brothers' volatile relationship, really. That in itself could be the story of an entire episode. But let's just say that Noel and Liam were as likely to punch each other in the mouth as they were to create chart-topping hits, as I said. The breakup had been a long time coming. As for Wonderwall, love it or hate it, there's no denying it has made a massive mark on music history. Go back to the first few times that you heard it. Admit it. In that moment, it was up there with the greatest songs you'd ever heard.
I said maybe.
It's a modern rock standard, triggering a haul of over 70 million albums sold for the band. Taking Oasis global. Nothing else in their catalog comes close in terms of notoriety, streaming numbers, or sales. And since the mid-90s, not many rock songs have put up the type of numbers it has. Written by one of the funniest blokes ever, Noel has become the elder rock statesman. He always tells it like it is. I really wish he was running the music business. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you'd like to see more Oasis on here. I think they're a great band. Leave us a comment about Wonderwall, one of the greatest songs ever. What are your memories of it? What do you think about it? It's hard because I know when they play songs over and over again, Stairway to Heaven, Don't Stop Believin', Wonderwall, you can get sick of a great song, but sometimes you just have to listen to it with new ears. And if you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We would love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.